Joseph Mills. And today on the Single H Show presents Transparenting. Obviously, we're giving Single H the week off this week. Very, very busy young man in the world of academia. So we're going to let him catch his breath this week. When I step in and I do a transparenting episode, it's normally because there are a few things that anonymously deal with concerns, complaints, confusions, as I also help others who try to guide their young children, their nieces or nephews, what have you, throughout the minefields of just hurt. And that's what I want to share about today. Our last few weeks on the Single H Show has been the Single H and I kind of talking through a big major event that was coming up. It took two or three episodes for us to kind of talk through that because it was a big event for us. It was something that we so direly looked forward to doing, this Pride event at the worship center where I serve in Temecula, California. And we got to talk about the pluses over the last few weeks. The 682 people that came onto the campus, the numerous people who returned the next day to our worship center to celebrate and worship with us, who were on our campus for the first time the week before, and it was really cool developing these relationships while also giving other ally groups throughout our community an opportunity to showcase for our LGBTQIA plus siblings that they are here and that they care. Now, I have gotten many emails at thesinglehshow@gmail.com. Also, we still receive emails, and I have received some emails at dwopodcasting@gmail.com, and it's the other side of the shoe. So I always kind of wrestle with this in this format and transparenting so that you, dear friends that are out there that receive these ignorant messages, I don't know how else to share it, these ignorant messages, so that you know you're not alone. You can hear me processing through this, and also hopefully that you can process back too by emailing me at dwopodcasting@gmail.com or the Single H Show@gmail.com, and we can support each other through these things. I want you to know that you are not alone. I want you to know that if you have to deal with this foolishness, these shenanigans, you're not alone. And I just want you to know that. So we're going to start with the easy ones first. And these things are pretty much the typical short, throw a shot and then zip away to the next post sort of thing in Facebook world. But one of the posts said, you really call yourself a church? That's kind of crazy. And the other one is a meme response that says, you done lost your damn mind. And I just find these quick shot responses kind of frustrating. I do want to share with you the response that I shared back, and especially the one, you really call yourself a church. And it's, thank you for reaching out. As we strive to follow the life of Christ as his hands and feet, we remember that he invited the woman to the table, celebrated the faith of the Samaritan, and spent more time with those whom the church questioned than with the church itself. Following the words of the Apostle Paul, we celebrate there is no Jew or Greek, no male or female. There should be no division, only the works to create unity. We also remember the words of Leviticus, which reminds us that we will always be held accountable for the ways that we treat those in the greatest need. So that was my exact same response to both of those. But I want to point out too, as I look at the responses and what this meme is about, one of the cool things that happened at this event was the three agencies that work together to pull this pride celebration to reality all receive special commendations from the city of Temecula. And it's a picture celebrating the three agencies working together for this event. And are so far 75 responses, 55 are thumbs up, 17 are hearts, one wow. So I would actually make those 73 responses all positive with one laughing face and one crying face. So a very heavily positive response. But just these two things kind of, hey, always a thorn in the shoe somewhere. And those things are really easy to contend with, really easy to wrestle through. But then there comes the ones that come along and make a point. Now, I will not be using this individual's name because this came through a private message. But by you not using this person's name, and I'll change some other of the language. It's so much of the common hurt, attack first language that it it just shows it shows why that we need to have events like the San Diego the Temecula Pride gathering. It shows why that if I get complaints about saying too much about LGBTQIA plus concerns in my sermons, or why am I always wearing a LGBTQIA plus supportive shirt? Why do I paint my nails? Why do I wear the bricks instead of a cross? Um, Messages like this is why. There are individuals who don't want to understand. They don't want to be a part of the conversation to bring unity to a single point. And it's always this journey of remaining on the attack so that they can knock you off and then they can say, wow, and now you're yelling at me and so forth. It's one of the tactics that I see so much at city council and school board meetings is this attack first, attack hard, rile up the crowd, and then there's no way that you can ever have a conversation because everything remains off balance. It's definitely the blueprint of many of the current presidential administration's focus in conversations, keeping the argument going so that there's no conversation. So I will be changing the name of this individual and moving forth as we do things such as this on the Single H Show, on transparenting. I will change the female names to Karen and the male names to Kip. And God bless if we ever actually have a Karen send in an email, then I still got to say Karen, or you'll know that their name is Karen. But here is the first email that came through. Um, Went to church on Sunday, and all the pastor talked about was supporting LGBTQ plus bullshit. We we went to go to hear about God, not people who have sex with same sex and commit mass murders of famous people. Charlie Kirk and 8 others. I don't care about the stones that his kids gave him, representing trans and inclusivity. Too bad this subject has taken over this church. No, this was passed by the national conference, but I don't care if you marry 2 men or 2 women. But we came to hear the word of Christ, not about the mental illness of people pretending to be opposite sex and experiencing protection and favoritism of proper use of their nouns. Um, so a lot of this is in direct reference to video that I put up that day too, and that video is on Transcended Media at our Transcended Media Instagram page. But I love how that this whole thing begins with trying to say, "Wow, they're murdering people and they're murdering famous people." And so forth. So let's look at some averages real quick. Here's some of those averages. Okay. In a survey that was taken by the Williams Institute in 2021, it estimated that 1 in 2 transgender individuals experience some form of violence in their lifetime, some form of sexual violence. Also, in that survey, transgender surveys, nearly 90% responded reporting experiences of harassment, and 47% of that 90% that reported that it was sexual assault. We also look at homicide rates. This was based in the same period in 2021 alone. At least 47 transgender or gender non-conforming individuals were killed in the U.S., a number that has been raising annually. This highlights the severe risk of violence that they face. As we begin to continue to look at issues such as bathroom issues and so forth, as we try to protect the children within these environments, the higher percentage of individuals that receive any kind of hurt or harm within those situations, the higher average of those individuals are the transgender individuals who are attacked, not doing the attacking. And I love how that this has broken off into another area. When you deal with these situations, it usually starts with areas that they can try to get the highest reactionary response from. And the highest reactionary response in this shooting towards statements of mental illness, bringing up Charlie Kirk. And again, I want to share that no person should ever be killed for what they say. And I don't believe that Charlie Kirk should have been murdered. But to make that the battle cry in a situation that there's no true connector to, that's very hard. I want to read to you the response that I sent back. I want to express my deep sorrow over the tragic death of Charlie Kirk. It was absolutely unjust, and no one should ever face violence for their beliefs or their statements they make. We must strive for a world where calm conversation can flourish, allowing us to understand one another better. Thank you for your comments about the bricks. They were intended to symbolize the vital foundation we must build, one constructed with love, grace, and protection. The imagery was an introduction to a larger conversation about the importance of safeguarding our community. During the sermon, we also addressed critical issues such as homelessness, food insecurity, and gender and racial inequality, issues of our older generation facing with the Social Security system. Given that it coincided with the Pride gathering that we hosted for the city of Temecula, LGBTQIA plus issues understandably took the center stage. The focus on the bricks was a part of a Facebook statement this week, and I generally feel sad for those who only engage with the real might miss the broader message of social justice we aimed to convey with the Wesleyan quadrilateral conversation concerning two larger gatherings that day. Thank you for being a part of this important dialogue. Together we can work towards an important, inclusive, and understanding community. So within that statement, there is a statement of why that this is taking place. Also a statement broadening what was actually being shared. If you find yourself in places of arguments or places that an individual is trying to keep you off balance within your conversation, they try to control the narrative by keeping it about one topic. where many times it is much more grander, and most of the time it's the topic that the individual has the most spite and venom towards. So, as we talk about all this, and this individual did say that they came to hear about the message of Christ and not LGBTQIA plus issues, the symbolization of us being the hands and feet of Jesus Christ in areas of homelessness, food insecurity, gender and racial inequality, caring for our older generations who are facing social security concerns, are all places that we are displaying the hands and feet of Jesus Christ. That's very important for me to bring back up because the response from that previous message goes as follows. Like we said, we just wanted to hear a sermon regarding God and Savior. If any group needed guidance, it's the LGBTQ, but not to enable a lifestyle that has killed millions and then AIDS exclamation point. My main concern when the women of there was a woman that mentioned a drag queen. We don't need a man dressed as a woman grooming our children with story time and encouraging these young kids to change their gender through ma- manipulating surgery of removing of their sex organs. So once again, that comes with it the sharp bite of I'm going to keep this thing off balance. I'm going to keep this aggressive statement. And as we go through this reality, and I think about this response from Karen, it is this response of, hey, I'm going to keep throwing at you the spiteful misinformation. So I'm going to share with you the information in whole for you to know. First of all, I being a person in a worship center and seeing some of the places that individuals with dear far right proposals of the actions of faith have, I would far rather my kids be around drag queens than any Christian nationalist gathering. I think that there is a more opportunity of inclusion, of safe care, of them being guarded in a very safe and caring manner if they are at a drag show than at a Christian nationalist gathering. I'm sorry, that's just a statement. That's how I feel about this. But the thing is they this statement comes back at the hard push, the grooming of children with story time, encouraging them to change their gender identity through mutilating surgery. Now, in many states, and I know this varies, but many states don't allow uh, the surgical gender affirming care until an advanced age. Now, there are, in many states and in California, there's other journeys that take place, and all of the journeys that take place are reversible. Taking of estrogen and testosterone is a reversible action. The being allowed to dress in other clothing is reversible action. So allowing a person to go through this journey of expressing their gender identity is not a permanent thing, but the response back in many of the arguments is about how that it's this permanent thing, and they go straight after the manipulating surgery, which is so far seldomly done, especially for younger children. And the AIDS statement is painful because AIDS is why that we exist with so much confusion and misunderstanding, and AIDS had its growth because it was brushed under this blanket because it was seen as the gay plague, and many nationalistic faith people saw it as a way of cleansing the sinners, which is a very painful thing. Also, AIDS is not limited to our LGBTQI plus community. In the mid '90s, when Magic Johnson came out that he had contracted the HIV virus, that was when that we really started looking at HIV/AIDS through the prism that we should have been. This is something that it affects humanity. And if anything affects humanity, we need to all care for it and care about it. And with this response, it pushes it back to the gay plague fear response of that is why that we have not had the progress that we should have had by addressing this seriously at the beginning. So here's the response that I sent back. Thank you again. I couldn't agree with you more. I often think about how frequently Christ reached out to those with visible medical needs, such as individuals dealing with leprosy, ensuring that they receive the care that they receive. So, Christ going to those with the skin conditions and so forth. So that was my response back about the AIDS statement. Because also, her statement is she wants to hear about the actions of Christ, and that was the actions of Christ. So the next thing comes along, and it comes with this prayer request, and she was mentioning about a prayer request that came along for a drag queen whose father had passed away. So I also completely agree with you with the necessity of recognizing that Christ allowed everyone to have a voice, especially those silenced by the temple leaders and the Pharisees. I remember the prayer request from the lady who shared her story about the drag queen coping with the loss of their father. I celebrate a Christ who opens the door for anyone to voice a prayer request regardless of their journey because everyone deserves prayer and care. And then with the other stuff that was frustrating her with the manipulation and everything, I am a bit confused about the other information that you're frustrated about, as none of that was shared during the service. So, just trying to keep looping things back. And if you see, and this is one of the things I cannot express enough, I'm still trying to not return a high reactionary response within this conversation, even though all of the responses tend to loop back with high reactionary responses. So here comes Karen's high reactionary response. Prayers were being asked for various people as they were sick, so could not hear everything the woman said. All I caught was drag queen, so assumed that she had a friend who needed prayer, who just happened to be a drag queen. Why was it necessary to say that? But drag queens are famous for dancing half naked and reading LGBTQ only books to kids. I'm not saying this particular drag queen did this, but if you are aware of the danger they pose to children with their grooming, it is very widely discussed on Facebook and media. Many videos of actual events, and by the way, did you watch the Pride parade in LA? Grown men wearing G strings and tight Speedos, grinding and bumping their bodies forward with many kids present. I don't know why parents would take their kids, but anyway, it was very disgusting to be on national television. So, a lot to break down with this one, because there is the pushed assumptions that feed the fear. And one of the things that I liked about this response the most was the numerous times that she said drag queen, as she also complained about the necessity of the other person saying drag queen. Like she didn't know why it was necessary, but she literally says drag queen over and over in this. And it goes back to this forced narrative of the stereotype. And that is one of the things that we deal with a lot, is when it falls into the stereotype. We at our worship center have been to, I guess, 4 now if you count the one that we hosted, four pride events this year to represent faith communities that are uh, affirming communities, and none of none of these things were visible. And that even the San Diego Pride Parade itself has clothing restrictions within its narrative. So it really is. There's a lot of this that plays into the stereotype, but also I want to directly address the. This is widely discussed on Facebook and other media. So there, as their algorithms fall into what that you look at and what you read. The social media is actually designed to only show you what you're looking for, and I want to make that very clear. When you look at algorithms, as you look, social media is always with its cookies collecting what you look at to show you what you're looking for. So one statement that I see when all of the news is talking about, it's commonly shared on Facebook and Instagram. What I get from that is, hey, I look at conservative sites and my algorithm is set for conservative conversations, and this is what I vastly see. And also within that, you get these things where that you see the worst, and sometimes the worst isn't even completely connected to what they're talking about. It's just how the algorithm displayed the information. So here is my uh, response. I am so sorry you missed the Pride celebration on our campus Saturday and those that took place in Oceanside and Riverside this year. Most of these events are highly family inclusive. I'm personally sad that media only shows a few negative representations. I would agree with you if those few examples were the norm, no child should be there. Being a part of the planning of the one on our campus, you would have been very pleased to hear the conversations the chairs of the Temecula Pride Center led on the necessity of making sure that the gathering as caring and non-alarming for families that might be. So there is a direct response on that. And so I get this question, what does non-alarming mean? Because I'm not returning back the argument, and now there begins to be this showing of of that. So I wrote back, non-alarming means nothing that wasn't for the entire family. So now this is what happens, and you can see it at school board meetings, city council meetings. If they're not getting what they want, out of nowhere there's this hard shift. And this next question, it kind of gets me confused because I don't know where Karen found this. Uh, so she just comes out of nowhere. So they is one of your pronouns. Does that mean you identify more than one person? I looked over. So she's responding to our church's Facebook page. And I don't see our pronoun listings anywhere. But my response back is, so as a this being a community page, the group page for TUMC, the response back would naturally be they them pronouns. It's a community. But then I did go a little bit further. To answer further, my personal pronoun are he, him, his. To further your pronoun question referring to they, them pronouns, imagine that you are at a party and someone walks in, but you don't know their name yet. Instead of saying he or she, you might say they to refer to that person. That's a way to keep it simple until that you learn more. Using they, them pronouns is like using a universal term that includes everyone, regardless of gender. It's not just politically correct, it also is making sure that everyone feels included and respected. Just like how we might refer to a groups of friends as they, we talk about them. We can do the same for individuals who prefer those pronouns. Think of it this way. If someone prefers they, them, it's like ordering your favorite pizza. You wouldn't want someone to insist on toppings you didn't like, right? It's all about respecting preferences. Also, a very complete and appropriate sentence is Karen asks very thoughtful questions about LGBTQ concerns. It has very nice speaking with them on this matter. So again, clearly discussed, but here it comes back. So him, her, they, them, we were going to bring our husbands next Sunday. That would have been 4 new members. It is not right to bring politics in the church. People go to hear the word of God and not about men wearing lipsticks and dresses pretending to be women while sporting beards. We are done, and we are going to another church that focuses on the teachings of Christ. So that was that another loop back through of kind of pointing and also trying to throw membership at me. So one thing, I don't like to brag, but I'm going to brag. We brought in 11 new members that Sunday that Karen was at church. So I'm too busy worrying about my 11 new members than worrying about 4 that aren't going to come. So, but I did write back because this whole thing was this whole loop around. So thank you for letting me know. I do wish you the best on your search. May Christ guide you and care as you search for a place to worship may that community welcome you warmly. Still keeping this all back together. And oh wait, this just in. This is brand new. If someone comes into a room and I don't know their name, why would I call them they? Oh, hi, they. Come join us. Dumb at best. Has nothing to do about it. And you're not talking to them, you're referring to them. I will have fun responding to that later. But I just love this quest of continuing the argument and so forth. So I only share this because I know that you all share this too. And I wanted to give you an example of these conversations as you wrestle with them so that you know, hey, 1, you're not alone. 2, this is a positive path that you can go through these things. And it's just a great way to just kind of wrestle through. You're okay. You're not alone. God bless you. So thank you for listening to this today. This was the Single H Show presents Transparenting. Next week, Single H will be back with us. We'll be back on our regular cycle of conversations. And thank you all for listening. For Single H, my name is Joseph Mills. Have a great week.